My ex wrote a novel about my trauma. Dedicated it to themselves. I'm standing in the fiction section of Barnes & Noble, holding my own life story in my hands, except Marcus Chen's name is printed on the cover in bold letters where mine should be. Broken Wings, a novel stares back at me from the bestseller display. The protagonist is named Clara instead of Sarah, has brown eyes instead of green, and lives in Portland instead of Chicago. But everything else, the foster homes, the locked bedroom doors, the way I used to count ceiling tiles when my mind went somewhere else, it's all there. Word for word, sometimes, like he recorded our late-night conversations and transcribed them directly onto the page. My hands are shaking as I flip to the dedication, to my own capacity for empathy and understanding. May we all find the courage to illuminate the darkest corners of human experience. To his own capacity. His own courage. I'm going to throw up. Excuse me, are you alright? The bookstore employee is maybe 19, with kind eyes and a name tag that reads Tyler. He's looking at me with genuine concern, probably because I'm hyperventilating in his fiction section. I'm fine, I manage, clutching the book. How much is this? That one's $27.99. It's really good, been on the New York Times list for 6 weeks now. The author's doing a signing here next Thursday if you're interested. $27.99. I did the math on my phone while Tyler rang me up. If this book has sold even half the copies needed to hit the bestseller list, Marcus has made more money from my trauma than I've earned in the past 2 years combined. I'm still paying off the emergency room visit from my panic attack last Christmas, the one that happened right after I told him about finding my mother unconscious when I was 8. That story's in chapter 3. I drive home to my studio apartment, the book burning like a hot coal on my passenger seat. My therapist Dr. Rodriguez always tells me to breathe through the panic, but I can't afford to see her anymore. Haven't been able to since I got laid off from the marketing firm in January. The irony isn't lost on me. I can't afford therapy to process my trauma, but my ex-boyfriend just bought a Tesla with the profits from selling it. My phone buzzes with a text from my sister Jenny. Girl, isn't this your ex? Someone shared his book in my book club. The story sounds familiar. She's attached a screenshot of Marcus's Instagram. He's posted a photo of himself at some literary event, wine glass in hand, caption reading, grateful for the journey that led to Broken Wings. Sometimes we must dig deep into pain to find universal truth. Hashtag author life, hashtag bestseller status, hashtag grateful heart. Universal truth. Like my pain belongs to the universe instead of me. I scroll through the comments. Hundreds of people praising his raw honesty and brave storytelling. One woman writes, this book changed my life. Thank you for sharing your story. His story. That's when I realize what I have to do. Marcus wants to talk about raw honesty? About brave storytelling? Fine. Let's see how he handles some universal truth. I spend the next 3 hours reading every single word of Broken Wings, and it's worse than I imagined. Much worse. Marcus didn't just steal the big moments, the courtroom testimony when I was 12, the night I aged out of foster care with nowhere to go, the panic attacks that left me gasping on bathroom floors. He took everything. The way I organize my bookshelf by color because chaos makes me spiral. How I still sleep with a nightlight at 28. The recurring nightmare about purple wallpaper that I'd never told another living soul except him. He even stole my coping mechanisms and gave them to Clara. The breathing technique Dr. Rodriguez taught me, 4 counts in, hold for 7, 8 counts out, appears on page 127. My habit of carrying exactly 3 granola bars everywhere I go, a holdover from years of food insecurity, shows up on page 203. He turned my hypervigilance into literary symbolism, describing how Clara notices every exit, every face, every potential threat, like a combat veteran in civilian clothes. But the absolute worst part? He got details wrong. Details that matter. In his version, Clara's foster father Mr. Henley is portrayed as a misunderstood man struggling with his own demons. Perhaps he too was broken, Marcus wrote, reaching for connection in the only way he knew how. I throw the book across the room. It hits my kitchen cabinet and falls spine-first onto the linoleum. Paul Henley wasn't misunderstood. He was a predator who shouldn't have been within 50 miles of vulnerable children. But Marcus needs his story to be nuanced, literary, important. So he added complexity where there was only cruelty, found redemption in places where none existed. My phone rings. It's my friend Maya from the grief support group we both attended after losing parents young. Another detail I'd shared with Marcus during our relationship. Sarah, I need to ask you something weird, she says without preamble. My coworker just recommended this book to me. Says it's about a girl who lost her mom to an overdose and ended up in foster care. The way she described it, it sounds exactly like your story. I close my eyes. What's the book called? Asterisk Broken Wings asterisk by Marcus Chin. Wait, isn't that your ex? The one you dated for 3 years. Yes. My voice sounds hollow, even to me. Maya, he wrote about you too. Your mom, what you told us in group. He was picking me up from those meetings, remember? I think he was listening. The silence stretches for 30 seconds. Are you telling me, Maya says slowly, that he took our stories from grief counseling and put them in a book? I'm telling you he's made probably $500,000 turning our pain into entertainment. That's not legal. That can't be legal. I've been thinking the same thing. After hanging up with Maya, I spent 2 hours researching literary law on free legal websites. The truth is devastating. As long as he changed names and identifying details, he's protected. Fiction is fiction, even when it's not. But there's something else I discover in my research. Something that makes my heart race for the first time today with hope instead of panic. Marcus is doing a book tour. 12 cities, all the major markets. And according to his publisher's website, he's going to be right here in Chicago next Thursday. The same signing Tyler mentioned at Barnes & Noble. Perfect. I stay up until 3 a.m. crafting my plan, fueled by righteous anger and gas station coffee. By morning, I have a 3-part strategy that feels both terrifying and absolutely necessary. First, I create a new Twitter account at Real Broken Wings. The bio reads, the true story behind the best-selling fiction. I start with a simple tweet, what happens when someone steals your trauma and calls it literature? Thread incoming. Hashtag Broken Wings exposed, hashtag true story. I don't post it yet. I need more ammunition first. Second, I dig through everything I can find about Marcus online. His success story is everywhere, literary magazines calling him a fresh voice in trauma fiction, podcasts where he discusses drawing from deep wells of human experience. On the Writer's Life podcast from 3 weeks ago, the host asks where his inspiration came from. You have to be willing to sit with pain, Marcus says, his voice smooth and practiced. To really listen when people share their deepest truths with you. I've always been someone people confide in. I have to pause the recording twice to keep from screaming. The worst part comes at the end. I think writers have a responsibility to transform private pain into universal healing. That's the gift we give the world. Private pain like it's his to transform. Third, and this is the part that makes my palms sweat, I reach out to Amanda Sterling. She's an investigative journalist for Chicago Tribune who's been covering literary scandals, plagiarism cases, ghostwriting controversies, publishing industry corruption. I found her through a rabbit hole of Google searches at 2 a.m. Her email response comes back within 4 hours. Sarah, this is exactly the kind of story that needs telling. Can we meet today? I'm buying lunch. Amanda turns out to be nothing like I expected. She's maybe 45, with gray-streaked hair and the kind of direct eye contact that makes you feel simultaneously exposed and protected. We meet at a diner in Lincoln Park, and I bring my copy of Broken Wings tagged with sticky notes marking every stolen detail. Jesus, she says after I walk her through the first 3 chapters. This isn't inspiration, this is exploitation. But it's legal, I say. I spent all night researching. He changed enough details. Legal and ethical are 2 different things. Amanda flips to the dedication page and her jaw tightens. And just because something's legal doesn't mean there aren't consequences. Tell me about the book signing. I explain Marcus's event at Barnes & Noble next Thursday. Amanda nods, making notes in a battered notebook. Here's what I'm thinking, she says. You go to that signing. Ask him some pointed questions, publicly, with witnesses. I'll be there recording everything. Meanwhile, I'll be working on a feature story for Sunday's edition. The real Broken Wings, when fiction crosses the line. My heart pounds. What if he denies everything? Then we show receipts. Amanda leans forward. Sarah, do you have any documentation of telling him these stories? Emails, texts, anything that proves you share these details with him during your relationship? I think about our 3 years together. Marcus was old school romantic, handwritten notes, not texts. But then I remember something that makes me sit up straighter. Voicemails, I say. He used to call me during his lunch breaks at work, and sometimes I couldn't answer. I'd call him back and leave long voicemails telling him about therapy sessions, childhood memories, everything. And Marcus, he never deleted anything. He kept every email, every voicemail, said they were like love letters. Amanda grins. Please tell me you think he still has them. His iCloud storage was always full because he hoarded digital memories. If he hasn't changed, those voicemails are still there. I pause, struck by a realization. And if I can prove I told him these stories, with specific details, months or years before he wrote them, then we have a timeline that shows exactly where his inspiration really came from, Amanda finishes. Sarah, I think you're about to become a very important voice in a very necessary conversation. Walking home from lunch, I finally hit post on that first tweet. Within an hour, I have 50 retweets and 100 replies. People are asking questions, sharing their own stories of betrayal, demanding answers. Marcus has no idea what's coming for him. The tweet goes viral overnight. I wake up Friday morning to 847 notifications on my phone. My simple thread about stolen trauma has been retweeted 12,000 times. The replies are a mix of outrage, support, and, unfortunately, Marcus's fans defending him. At Book Lover 2019 writes, this is clearly someone trying to destroy a talented author's career. Fiction writers draw inspiration from everywhere. Get over it. At Trauma Warrior responds, drawing inspiration and literally stealing someone's specific childhood abuse stories are not the same thing. This is sick. But it's the direct message from a publishing insider that makes my coffee go cold. Sarah, you should know, Marcus Chen's publisher is Hartwell and Associates. They're known for aggressive legal teams. Be careful. I screenshot everything and forward it to Amanda Sterling. Her response comes back in minutes. Don't let them intimidate you. Keep documenting everything. How's the voicemail situation coming? That's the problem. I spent 3 hours yesterday trying to remember Marcus's Apple ID password. We used to share streaming accounts, and I helped him set up his iCloud when we moved in together. But it's been 8 months since our breakup, and he might have changed everything. Then I remember something that makes me laugh despite everything. Marcus's password for literally everything was the same, Truth-Teller94. His birth year plus his pretentious view of himself as some kind of literary prophet. The man who stole my life story couldn't even be creative with his own passwords. I try it on the Apple ID recovery page, and I'm in. My hands are shaking as I navigate to his voicemail storage. There's a folder labeled Sarah 2021 to 2024 with 127 saved messages. I start with the oldest one, from February 2021, just 3 months into our relationship. My own voice fills my apartment, younger and more trusting. Hey babe, sorry I missed your call. Just got out of therapy with Dr. Rodriguez. We talked about the nightmares again, you know, the purple wallpaper ones? She thinks they're connected to the house where Mr. Henley. Anyway, she taught me this new breathing thing. 4 counts in, hold for 7, 8 counts out. It actually helps. Page 127 of Broken Wings. Word for word. The next voicemail is from June 2021. Marcus, I had the weirdest day. You know how I always carry those granola bars everywhere? This woman at the grocery store saw me buying like 20 boxes and asked if I was stocking up for the apocalypse. I wanted to tell her that when you've been hungry, really hungry, you never stop being afraid of it happening again. But instead I just laughed and said I really like granola. Page 203. He even kept my exact phrasing about being really hungry. By the time I've listened to a dozen voicemails, I'm crying and furious in equal measure. Not just because he stole my stories, but because I can hear how much I trusted him. How safe I felt sharing everything with this person who was apparently taking notes for his future bestseller. The worst one is from December 2022. I can't stop thinking about what we talked about last night. About how I organize my books by color because random order makes me panic. You said it was beautiful, how I turned chaos into something controlled and pretty. You made me feel like my weird trauma responses weren't broken, just adaptive. I love you so much for seeing me that way. He turned that intimate moment, me feeling beautiful and seen, into a literary device. Clara's color-coded bookshelf appears in Chapter 4 as a symbol of humanity's desperate need to impose order on an orderless universe. I'm downloading everything when my phone rings. Unknown number. Sarah Meadows? The voice is crisp, professional, terrifying. Yes? This is Janet Morrison from Hartwell and Associates Legal Department. We represent author Marcus Chin. I understand you've been making some very serious accusations on social media regarding our client's novel Broken Wings. My blood turns to ice water. I'm sharing my own story. You're making defamatory statements that could seriously damage Mr. Chen's reputation and livelihood. I'm calling to inform you that continued harassment of our client will result in legal action. We have documentation of your social media campaign and are prepared to seek both damages and an injunction. Harassment? I'm standing now, pacing my tiny kitchen. He stole my trauma and published it for profit. Mr. Chen wrote a work of fiction. Any resemblance to real events is coincidental. However, your targeted campaign of malicious defamation is very real and very actionable. She hangs up before I can respond. I immediately call Amanda Sterling, but it goes to voicemail. Then I call my sister Jenny, who picks up on the first ring. Sarah? You sound upset. They're threatening to sue me. Marcus's publisher. They're saying what I posted online is defamation. Can they do that? I don't know. I don't have money for a lawyer. I don't have money for anything. I'm spiraling now, the familiar panic creeping in around the edges. Jenny, what if I can't fight this? What if he just gets to steal my life and I can't do anything about it? Hey, breathe. 4 counts in, remember? We're not giving up. 4 counts in. The breathing technique that Marcus stole and monetized. That's when I realized something that stops my panic attack cold. Janet Morrison made a mistake. She said they have documentation of my social media campaign and called it harassment. But I only posted one thread yesterday. If they're already monitoring me this closely, if they're already this worried about what I might say, it means they know I'm telling the truth. And if Marcus's high-powered legal team is scared enough to threaten me after 24 hours, it means I have more power than I thought. The book signing is in 6 days. Marcus has no idea I have his voicemails, that Amanda Sterling is writing an exposé, or that his legal team just confirmed my story by trying to silence me. I post a second tweet, update, I'm now being legally threatened for sharing my own story. That should tell you everything you need to know. See you Thursday, Marcus. Hashtag Broken Wings exposed, hashtag Truth Matters. Within an hour, it has 2,000 retweets and a response from Amanda Sterling. Sarah, call me immediately. This just became a much bigger story. Amanda calls me back at 7:18 p.m., and I can hear the excitement in her voice even before she speaks. Sarah, you just handed us the smoking gun. That legal threat? Janet Morrison just proved your entire case. How do you figure? I'm sitting on my couch with my laptop open, still downloading Marcus's voicemail files. 23 down, 104 to go. Think about it, if Broken Wings was purely fictional, if Marcus really invented Clara's story from his own imagination, why would his publisher's legal team care about your Twitter thread? Fiction doesn't need defending from the truth unless it's not actually fiction. She's right, and I feel something I haven't experienced in months, hope. Actual, real hope. Amanda, I got into his iCloud. I have voicemails going back 3 years where I'm telling him these stories, with specific details, exact dates. Some of them are word for word what ended up in his book. Jesus. How many voicemails? 127. He saved everything. I pause at a particularly long file from August 2022. There's one here that's 43 minutes long. I must have called him after a really bad therapy session. Don't listen to them alone, Amanda says quickly. This is going to be traumatic, you're basically reliving your worst moments while watching them get commodified. Can someone be there with you? I think about asking Jenny to drive over, but she has the kids tonight and Mark's working late. My friend Maya offered to help, but I'm not ready to drag her deeper into this mess. I'll be okay. I need to do this. Alright, but I'm staying on the phone. Put me on speaker and just focus on documenting timestamps and matching them to pages in the book. We're building a timeline that's going to demolish Marcus's credibility. The August 2022 voicemail is brutal. I'm crying through most of it, telling Marcus about a memory that had surfaced in therapy, something about being locked in a closet for hours when I was 6. I describe the smell of mothballs, the way the door handle felt cold against my forehead when I pressed against it, how I used to count the coats hanging above me. Chapter 7, pages 89 to 91. Marcus even kept the detail about counting coats. That bastard, Amanda mutters through the phone. He's not just stealing your trauma, he's stealing your healing process. These therapy breakthroughs you're sharing with him in real time, he's turning them into plot points. By 9:30 p.m., I have matches for 18 voicemails and corresponding book passages. Amanda has been taking notes the entire time, building what she calls an ironclad case for literary theft. Sarah, I need to ask you something sensitive. In any of these voicemails, do you specifically tell Marcus not to share these stories? Or ask him to keep them private? I think back to our relationship dynamics. Marcus was always so supportive, so interested in my healing journey. He made me feel like sharing with him was therapeutic. I don't think I ever said the words don't share this, but... Wait. I've just opened a voicemail from January 2023. Amanda, listen to this. I play the file on speaker. My voice sounds exhausted. Marcus, I know I've been dumping a lot on you lately with all these therapy sessions. I just want you to know how much it means that you're the only person I trust with this stuff. Dr. Rodriguez says that being able to talk to you about everything is probably speeding up my healing. Like, you're the only person who knows all of this about me. My safe person. The silence on the other end of the phone stretches for 10 seconds. He's the only person who knows all of this about you, Amanda repeats slowly. Sarah, that's it. That's our smoking gun. You just proved that Marcus had access to information that no one else on Earth possessed, and now that exact information is in his best-selling novel. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. This is Maya's cousin David. I'm a paralegal in Chicago. Maya told me what's happening. The legal threat you received violates Illinois anti-SLAPP laws. You have more protection than they want you to believe. Call me tomorrow. Then another text, this one from Jenny, Mom's book club read Marcus's book last month. She just called me crying. She recognizes your stories, Sarah. She remembers you telling her about Mr. Henley when you were 13. She wants to help. And then a third message that makes my heart stop. It's from Marcus himself. Sarah, we need to talk. This has gone far enough. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Amanda hears my sharp intake of breath. What is it? Marcus just texted me. He wants to talk. Do not respond. Not yet. Let him sweat until Thursday. Her voice gets serious. Sarah, I've been thinking about the book signing. What if we coordinated your questions with audience members? I have contacts in the local writing community, people who could ask follow-ups, keep the pressure on. You mean like ambush him? I mean like journalism. Like holding someone accountable for their actions in a public forum. She pauses. But only if you're ready for that. This is your story, your choice. I look around my tiny studio apartment, the place I can barely afford, where I count every dollar and skip meals to pay rent. Then I think about Marcus's Tesla, his book tour, his wine and cheese literary events funded by my childhood nightmares. I'm ready, I say. Let's burn it all down. The next morning brings chaos I wasn't prepared for. My phone starts buzzing at 6:47 a.m. with notifications that won't stop. Overnight, my story has exploded beyond Twitter. Someone recorded a TikTok reading my thread aloud, and it's hit 800,000 views. Book Talk is losing its mind. But it's the email waiting in my inbox that changes everything. Sarah, my name is Rebecca Torres. I'm a literary agent with Morrison and Associates in New York. I saw your Twitter thread about Marcus Chin. 3 years ago, he queried me with a different novel, a romance. When I passed, he mentioned he was working on something deeper, about trauma and resilience, that he expected to finish soon. The timeline matches exactly with when you say you were telling him these stories. I'd like to help. Can we talk today? I'm still processing this when my phone rings. Amanda Sterling, calling at 7:23 a.m. Sarah, we have a problem. Marcus just announced he's moving up his Chicago signing to tonight. Same venue, but now it's at 7 p.m. today instead of Thursday. His publisher posted about overwhelming demand, but I think they're trying to get ahead of the story. My stomach drops. Tonight? I'm not ready. We don't have everything organized yet. It gets worse. I just got off the phone with my editor. Someone, probably Marcus's legal team, called the Tribune threatening to pull all Hartwell and Associates advertising if we run my story. We're talking about 6 figures in annual revenue. Are they killing the story? Not exactly. But they want to wait until after the signing, see how it plays out. They're nervous about potential lawsuits. Amanda's voice gets sharp. But here's the thing, I'm going freelance on this one. If you're willing to go on the record tonight, really confront him publicly, I can get it picked up by someone who doesn't take advertising from his publisher. I think about the voicemails I spent all night cataloging. 27 perfect matches between my private confessions and Marcus's published fiction. Rebecca Torres confirming that Marcus was already planning a trauma novel while dating me. The legal threats trying to silence me before I could even speak. Amanda, what if he just denies everything? What if he claims I'm lying? Then we play the voicemails. I brought a portable speaker system. Sarah, you have him dead to rights, but only if you're brave enough to use your ammunition. At 11:15 a.m., I call Rebecca Torres. Her voice is warm but professional, with a slight New York accent that somehow makes everything she says sound more credible. Sarah, I've been in this industry for 15 years. What Marcus did to you isn't just unethical, it's predatory. He cultivated your trust specifically to mine your trauma for material. But is it illegal? That's complicated. But here's what I can tell you, Marcus's career is built on a lie, and the literary community needs to know it. I have contacts at Publishers Weekly, the New York Times Book Review, and Kirkus. If you're willing to go public with evidence, I can make sure your story reaches people who matter. She pauses, and I can hear papers rustling. There's something else. I still have Marcus's original query letter from 2021. In it, he describes himself as a writer who has never experienced significant trauma but is fascinated by resilience narratives. He literally admits he's writing outside his experience. My hands start shaking again, but this time it's not panic. It's rage. Rebecca, if I do this, if I really expose him tonight, what happens to me? Honestly? It's going to be brutal. His fans will attack you. His publisher will probably escalate their legal threats. But Sarah, you'll own your story again. And that's worth everything. At 4 p.m., I'm standing in my bathroom, trying to decide what you wear to destroy someone's career. I settle on the blue dress Marcus always said made me look confident. Tonight, I'm going to need all the confidence I can get. My phone buzzes with one final message before I leave. Sarah, this is Marcus. Please don't do anything we'll both regret. You know I cared about you. Can't we work this out privately? I screenshot it and send it to Amanda. Her response comes back immediately. He's panicking. That's not the text of someone with nothing to hide. You've got him. I arrive at Barnes & Noble at 6:30 p.m. to find a line of at least 60 people wrapped around the building. Marcus's reading isn't supposed to start for another 30 minutes, but his fans are already buzzing with excitement. I can hear fragments of conversation as I walk past. His prose is so raw and honest, and I've never read trauma portrayed so authentically. Authentic. The word makes my jaw clench. Amanda finds me near the biography section, looking pale but determined. Sarah, we have a development. I just got a call from Marcus's publicist, Diane Walsh. Apparently someone tipped them off that you might be here tonight. What does that mean? It means they're prepared for you. Marcus has talking points ready, and they've stationed extra security. She gestures toward 2 men in dark suits near the event setup. But here's the thing, I think someone from his own team leaked that you were coming. Before I can ask what she means, Rebecca Torres appears beside us. I recognize her immediately from her LinkedIn photo, sharp bob, designer glasses, the kind of woman who commands rooms just by walking into them. Sarah, I drove down from Milwaukee for this. I wouldn't miss it. She's carrying a leather portfolio that looks expensive enough to pay my rent. I have updates. After we talked this morning, I reached out to 3 other agents who've dealt with Marcus over the years. Turns out your story isn't unique. My blood goes cold. What do you mean? I mean Marcus has a pattern. Jennifer Walsh at Creative Artists told me he pitched her a different novel in 2019, a story about a veteran with PTSD. When she asked about his research, he mentioned having deep conversations with someone close to him who served overseas. Sound familiar? Amanda and I exchanged looks. Did you find this person? Working on it. But Sarah, there's something else. I pulled Marcus's acknowledgements from Broken Wings and cross-referenced them with his social media. He thanks someone named Dr. Elena Rodriguez for professional insights into trauma therapy. The world tilts sideways. That's my therapist. He thanked my therapist in his book. Without her knowledge, I'm betting. I called her office this afternoon, can't discuss patients obviously, but her receptionist confirmed that Dr. Rodriguez has never consulted on any literary projects. Now I understand why Marcus kept all those voicemails. He wasn't being sentimental, he was gathering research material. Every therapy session I processed with him, every breakthrough I shared, every technique Dr. Rodriguez taught me that I excitedly reported back to my supportive boyfriend. He was building a database of authentic trauma responses to make his fiction more believable. There's more, Rebecca continues. I have contacts at literary magazines, and I've been digging into Marcus's background. Before Broken Wings, he'd never published anything dealing with trauma, abuse, or mental health. His previous work was all science fiction and romance. Then suddenly he produces this incredibly detailed, emotionally authentic portrayal of childhood abuse and foster care. Amanda checks her phone. It's almost 7. Sarah, are you ready for this? I look through the store windows at the crowd gathering for Marcus's reading. 63 people, mostly women, clutching copies of Broken Wings like sacred texts. They have no idea they're celebrating a lie built on stolen pain. One more thing, I say, pulling out my phone. I've been getting messages all day from people who recognize parts of their stories in his book. A woman named Tracy says the chapter about aging out of foster care matches her experience exactly, down to the specific way she describes packing her belongings in garbage bags. Rebecca's eyes light up. How many people have contacted you? 11 so far. Marcus didn't just steal from me. He's been collecting trauma stories for years and weaving them together. I take a deep breath. I'm not just exposing a plagiarist tonight. I'm exposing a predator who targets vulnerable people for material. The Barnes & Noble employee, Tyler from my first visit, approaches our group nervously. Excuse me, are you Sarah Meadows? There's a man here asking for you. Says his name is Marcus? Through the crowd, I can see him. Designer jacket, perfectly styled hair, holding court near the signing table like the literary celebrity he's become. When our eyes meet across the room, his confident smile falters for just a moment. He knows I have the voicemails. He knows I have proof. And judging by the way his publicist is whispering urgently in his ear, he knows his career is about to implode. Tell him I'll talk to him after his reading, I say to Tyler. Then I turn to Amanda and Rebecca. Let's go make some literature. The reading begins at 7:03 p.m., and I'm sitting in the third row with Amanda on my left and Rebecca on my right, like literary bodyguards flanking me for battle. My phone is recording in my jacket pocket, and I can see Amanda's professional camera discreetly positioned to capture everything. Marcus takes the podium with practiced confidence, and I have to admit he looks good. Success suits him, expensive haircut, tailored blazer, the kind of easy smile that probably charms book reviewers and podcast hosts. He opens with the same anecdote I heard on The Writer's Life about being willing to sit with pain and listen to people's deepest truths. Tonight I'm going to read from chapter 4, he says, flipping to a bookmarked page. This passage is about Clara discovering that organizing her world in small ways helps her feel safe in a larger world that never was. My breath catches. The color-coded bookshelf passage. The one lifted directly from my December 2022 voicemail where I told him how arranging my books by color made me feel less broken. Marcus begins reading in his smooth, media-trained voice. Clara's book stood in perfect rainbow order, spine against spine like a prismatic promise that chaos could be conquered. Red bled to orange, orange to yellow, each transition as carefully managed as her breathing during panic attacks. She'd learned that controlling small things created the illusion of controlling larger ones, and sometimes illusions were enough to survive another day. The audience murmurs appreciatively. Someone in the front row actually sighs with emotion. I want to stand up and scream that those words came from my mouth during one of the most vulnerable conversations of my life, but I force myself to wait. Marcus finishes the passage and looks up with manufactured humility. Questions? A woman in the back raises her hand immediately. Your portrayal of trauma feels so authentic. Have you experienced foster care yourself? Not personally, no. But I've always believed that empathy can bridge any gap in experience. The key is listening, really listening, when people trust you with their stories. Rebecca shifts beside me, and I can practically feel her taking mental notes. A man near the middle asks, how do you research such sensitive topics? I'm fortunate to have people in my life who've survived incredible hardships, Marcus says, and his eyes find mine across the room for just a moment. They've taught me that healing happens when we transform private pain into shared understanding. Fiction can do that in ways that pure memoir sometimes can't. Private pain, the same phrase from his podcast interview. My private pain, transformed into a shared success. I raise my hand, and Marcus's smile becomes noticeably strained. Yes? I'm curious about your research process, I say, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. When you say people have shared their stories with you, do you tell them you're planning to use those stories in your fiction? Well, fiction is fiction, Marcus replies carefully. I draw inspiration from many sources, but Clara's story is ultimately a creation of imagination. But what about informed consent? I press. If someone shares their trauma with you in a private relationship, don't they have a right to know it might end up in a published novel? The room has gone completely quiet. Marcus's publicist, a sharp-faced woman in her 50s, is watching from the side with obvious concern. I think there's a difference between inspiration and appropriation, Marcus says. All writers transform their experiences and the experiences of people around them. It's part of the creative process. Rebecca raises her hand before I can respond. Could you speak to the acknowledgments in your book? You thank Dr. Elena Rodriguez for professional insights into trauma therapy. How did you connect with her? I watch Marcus's face go pale. He clearly wasn't expecting this line of questioning from multiple people, and he doesn't know who Rebecca is or why she has such specific information. Dr. Rodriguez she's someone who provided general background information, he stammers. Did she know she was being consulted for a novel? Rebecca continues smoothly. I think we should stay focused on the book itself, Marcus's publicist interrupts from the side. Perhaps we could. Actually, I have a follow-up to that, says a voice from the back. I turn and see a woman I don't recognize, but Amanda gives me a subtle thumbs up. One of her contacts, clearly. You mentioned being someone people confide in, the woman says. Do you think writers have ethical obligations when using real people's experiences, even if names are changed? Marcus is visibly struggling now, his confident facade cracking under sustained pressure. Look, I understand this is a sensitive topic, but we're talking about fiction here. Clara is not a real person. That's when I stand up. You're right, I say loudly enough for everyone to hear. Clara isn't real. But Sarah Meadows is, and those are my stories you're reading. The room erupts in whispers and shifting chairs. Marcus's face goes from pale to ashen, and his publicist starts moving toward the microphone like she's planning to end this event immediately. But I'm not done yet. I have voicemails, I announce, pulling out my phone. 127 voicemails where I tell you these exact stories, Marcus. Should we listen to a few? The silence in that bookstore is deafening. 63 people holding their breath, waiting to see if I'm bluffing. Marcus grips the podium so hard his knuckles have gone white, and I can see a muscle twitching in his jaw. Sarah, he says, his voice barely above a whisper. Let's not do this here. Why not here? I ask, my phone still raised. You read my private pain to a room full of strangers without my permission. Seems like the perfect place to set the record straight. His publicist, Diane Walsh, I remember Amanda mentioning her name, finally reaches the microphone. I think we should wrap up tonight's event, she announces with forced brightness. Mr. Chen needs to get to his hotel for an early morning interview. Actually, I'd like to hear this, calls out a woman near the front. If these are real voicemails. Play them, says someone else. Let's hear what you've got. The crowd is turning, and I can feel the shift in energy. Marcus's fans came here expecting to worship at the altar of his literary genius, but now they're getting a live documentary about fraud instead. I select the August 2022 voicemail, the 43-minute one where I describe being locked in the closet, counting coats. My hands are shaking as I connect my phone to the portable speaker Amanda brought. This is from August 15, 2022, I announce. 15 months before Broken Wings was published. Marcus, you remember this call, don't you? I just had a breakthrough in therapy about a memory I'd blocked for 20 years. Marcus looks like he might throw up. Sarah, please. I hit play, and my own voice fills the bookstore, younger and raw with recent tears. Marcus, I can't believe I remembered this today. Dr. Rodriguez thinks the trigger was the smell of mothballs in that vintage store yesterday. Suddenly, I was 6 years old again, locked in Paul Henley's closet for hours because I spilled juice on his carpet. I used to count the coats hanging above me, there were always exactly 13. I pause the recording. Chapter 7, page 91, I call out. How many coats did Clara count in the closet, Marcus? The woman in the front row is frantically flipping through her copy. 13, she says, her voice barely audible. She counted 13 coats. What a coincidence, I say, letting sarcasm drip from every word. Should I play more? I have the breathing technique from page 127. The granola bars from page 203. Oh, here's a good one. Stop. Marcus's voice cracks on the word. Just stop. But I'm not stopping. I've been silent about this theft for too long, watching him profit from my nightmares while I couldn't afford therapy to process them. November 3rd, 2022, I announce, selecting another file. The night I told you about my recurring nightmare. The one with purple wallpaper that I'd never shared with another human being. Marcus actually takes a step back from the podium. Sarah, we dated for 3 years. Of course we talked about personal things. That doesn't mean you had permission to publish them. My voice carries across the silent bookstore like a gunshot. You dedicated this book to your own empathy, Marcus. Where was your empathy when you decided my childhood trauma would make good fiction? Where was your empathy when you turned my panic attacks into literary symbolism? A man in the middle section raises his hand tentatively. I'm sorry, but who are you exactly? My name is Sarah Meadows. I'm Marcus Chen's ex-girlfriend, and I'm the real person behind every single one of Clara's experiences in Broken Wings. He didn't research foster care or childhood abuse, he lived with me while I processed those experiences in therapy, and he recorded everything I told him. The whispers are getting louder now. People are taking out their phones, either to record this confrontation or to Google my name and verify my Twitter thread that's apparently still going viral. Rebecca Torres stands up beside me. I'm Rebecca Torres, a literary agent from Morrison and Associates. Earlier today I confirmed that Mr. Chen has a pattern of mining other people's experiences for his fiction. The woman he dated before Sarah was a military veteran, and elements of her PTSD appear in an unpublished novel he shopped around in 2019. Marcus's publicist looks like she's about to have a heart attack. This event is over, she declares, moving toward Marcus like she's planning to physically remove him from the premises. But Marcus stops her with a raised hand. For the first time tonight, he looks directly at me with something that might be genuine emotion instead of practiced charm. Sarah, he says quietly. I never meant to hurt you. The book, it was my way of honoring what you went through. Of helping other people who might be struggling with similar experiences. The audacity of that statement, that he was somehow doing me a favor by stealing my life story, breaks something inside me that I didn't even know was still intact. Honoring me? I repeat, my voice rising to near shouting. You honored yourself, Marcus. You dedicated the book to your own empathy. You've done interviews calling it your brave exploration of human resilience. You bought a Tesla with money you made selling my nightmares. The crowd gasps at that last detail, and I realize I've just given them the kind of concrete, specific image that makes abstract injustice feel real and personal. Amanda Sterling stands up, her camera positioned to capture Marcus's response. Mr. Chen, would you like to comment on the voicemail recordings? Do you deny that they contain the same specific details that appear in your novel? Marcus looks around the room, at his shocked fans, at the phones recording him, at his publicist frantically texting what I assume are crisis management instructions, at me standing there with 3 years of stolen conversations literally in the palm of my hand. I think, he says slowly, I need to speak with my lawyer. And that's when I know I've won. The admission hits the crowd like a physical blow. Someone in the back actually gasps, "Oh my God," loud enough for everyone to hear. Marcus realizing he needs his lawyer isn't a denial, it's a confession wrapped in legal strategy. His publicist, Diane Walsh, finally reaches him and grabs his arm. We're leaving. Now. But Marcus seems frozen, staring at me like he's seeing a ghost of his own making. You recorded me, he says, his voice hollow. All those times I called you, all those conversations, you were recording me. No, Marcus. My voice is steady now, powered by 3 years of suppressed rage. You recorded me. These are your voicemails, saved on your iCloud. You kept every single one like some kind of trauma trophy collection. The woman in the front row, a middle-aged book club type who probably drove here expecting a pleasant evening of literary discussion, looks between Marcus and me with dawning horror. Wait, so the author stole someone's real childhood abuse stories? And sold them, adds the man who asked about research methods. Jesus Christ. Tyler, the young Barnes & Noble employee who helped me that first day, appears at my elbow. Ma'am, do you need security? Because I'm pretty sure what he did isn't legal. Before I can answer, Rebecca Torres steps forward with her leather portfolio. Actually, it probably is legal, which is what makes it so morally reprehensible. She addresses the crowd like she's giving a lecture. Authors can use real events as inspiration as long as they change identifying details. The issue here isn't copyright infringement, it's exploitation of trust and intimate partner abuse. Intimate partner abuse? Marcus finally finds his voice again, and there's a flash of his old defensiveness. That's completely unfair. We were in a relationship. Couples share things. Couples share things, I repeat, stepping closer to the podium. They don't stockpile those things for future profit. Marcus, did you tell me when you started writing this book? Did you tell me when you sold it? Did you tell me when it hit the bestseller list and you made enough money to buy a car that costs more than I've earned in 2 years? The silence stretches for 10 seconds before a new voice cuts through it. Sarah? I turn toward the entrance and see Dr. Elena Rodriguez walking through the Barnes & Noble doors, still wearing her work clothes like she came straight from her office. My therapist looks smaller outside her professional environment, but her presence fills the room with a different kind of authority. Dr. Rodriguez? My voice comes out like a squeak. How did you? Rebecca Torres called my emergency line an hour ago, she says, her gaze moving from me to Marcus. She told me about the acknowledgments in your book, Mr. Chen. Marcus goes pale again. I can explain that. Can you? Dr. Rodriguez approaches the signing table with a measured pace she uses when she's really angry but maintaining professional composure. Because I've never spoken to you, never consulted on any literary project, and certainly never gave you permission to use my name in your book. She pulls a copy of Broken Wings from her purse, my copy, I realize, the one I must have left in her office, and flips to the acknowledgments page. Special thanks to Dr. Elena Rodriguez for her professional insights into trauma therapy, she reads aloud. Mr. Chen, using a real therapist's name to legitimize stolen patient experiences isn't just unethical, it's a violation of medical professional standards that could affect my license. The crowd is completely silent now, watching this unfold like a car accident they can't look away from. Someone's phone is definitely recording, probably multiple phones, and I realize this confrontation is about to go way beyond book talk. Marcus's publicist whispers something urgent in his ear, but he shakes his head. Dr. Rodriguez, I apologize for including your name without permission. That was an oversight. An oversight? My therapist's voice could freeze water. Mr. Chen, you built your entire novel around detailed therapy techniques and trauma responses that I taught my patient in confidence. Sarah trusted you with her healing process, and you monetized it. She turns to address the crowd directly. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been treating trauma survivors for 12 years. What this man has done isn't inspiration, it's psychological vampirism. That phrase, psychological vampirism, lands like a bomb in the quiet bookstore. I can see people in the audience physically recoiling, finally understanding the full scope of what they're witnessing. And that's when Marcus Chen, best-selling author and professional manipulator of trauma narratives, finally breaks completely. You want to know the truth? Marcus's voice cracks as he grips the podium. Fine. Yes, I used Sarah's stories. Yes, I kept her voicemails. But I never forced her to tell me anything. She volunteered every single detail. The crowd shifts uncomfortably, and I can feel the energy changing. He's trying to flip this, make me complicit in my own exploitation. I was grieving my mother, I say, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. You knew I was vulnerable. You knew I was processing trauma in therapy and I listened. Marcus interrupts, his composure finally shattered. Do you know how exhausting it was, Sarah? 3 years of listening to your problems every single night? Your nightmares, your panic attacks, your endless therapy sessions? I gave you emotional support for 3 years. The audacity of that statement, that supporting your girlfriend through trauma recovery is some kind of burden, sends a ripple of disgust through the audience. Dr. Rodriguez steps closer to the podium. Mr. Chen, are you seriously suggesting that providing emotional support to your partner justified stealing her therapeutic breakthroughs for commercial use? I transformed pain into art, Marcus says, and there's the pretentious writer I remember. Sarah's experiences were just raw material. I gave them meaning, structure, universal relevance. Raw material. I repeat the phrase slowly, letting it hang in the air. My childhood abuse was raw material. A woman in the middle section stands up abruptly, clutching her copy of Broken Wings. I need to leave. I can't, this is sick. She heads toward the exit, and 3 other people follow her. But Tyler, the young Barnes and Noble employee, raises his hand like he's in class. Mr. Chen, I have a question. If Sarah's stories were just inspiration, why did you save 127 voicemails? Like, specifically save them instead of just remembering the general ideas? Marcus's publicist finally succeeds in grabbing his arm. We're done here. Marcus, not another word. But Marcus shakes her off, and I can see 3 years of carefully constructed literary persona crumbling in real time. You want to know why I saved them? Because Sarah tells stories like she lived them. Because her details were better than anything I could invent. Because authenticity sells. The silence that follows is deafening. Amanda Sterling lowers her camera, and I can see she's gotten everything she needs. Rebecca Torres is scribbling notes frantically. Dr. Rodriguez looks like she's mentally composing a complaint to the state medical board about unauthorized use of her name. And me? For the first time in 8 months, I feel like I can breathe properly. Authenticity sells, I repeat. There it is, everyone. Marcus Chen, in his own words, admitting he stole my authentic trauma because it would sell better than his invented fiction. A man near the back calls out, how much money did you make from her stories? Marcus's publicist physically steps between him and the microphone now. This event is concluded. Mr. Chen won't be taking any more questions. But the damage is done. People are already pulling out their phones, posting to social media, texting friends. Hashtag Broken Wings Exposed is about to become the biggest literary scandal of the year. As they escort Marcus toward the exit, he looks back at me one last time. Sarah, I'm sorry it ended this way. I really did love you. No, I call after him. You loved my stories. You just couldn't tell the difference. The Barnes and Noble clears out slowly, people lingering in small groups whispering about what they just witnessed. Several approach me with copies of Broken Wings they now seem unsure what to do with. One woman asks if I want her to throw it away, another says she's demanding a refund. But it's the text message that arrives at 8:47 p.m. that changes everything. Sarah, this is Tracy Valdez. I messaged you earlier about the foster care chapter. I'm a paralegal in Denver, and after seeing what just happened tonight on Twitter, I think we need to talk. Marcus didn't just steal from you. There are at least 6 of us. My hands shake as I forward the message to Amanda, who's packing up her camera equipment. She reads it and immediately calls Rebecca over. 6 victims, Amanda says quietly. This isn't just plagiarism anymore, this is a pattern of predatory behavior spanning years. Dr. Rodriguez approaches our small huddle, her professional composure replaced by barely contained fury. Sarah, I need you to know that I'm filing complaints with both the American Psychological Association and the Illinois Medical Board. Using my name without permission to legitimize stolen patient material violates multiple ethical standards. What does that mean for Marcus? I ask. It means his publisher is about to face some very uncomfortable questions about their fact-checking process, Rebecca interjects. And it means you're not fighting this alone anymore. My phone buzzes with another message, this one from an unknown California number. Hi Sarah, my name is Jessica Chen, yes, Marcus's sister. I saw the livestream someone posted. We need to talk. There are things about my brother's writing process that the family has been concerned about for months. I show the message to Amanda, whose eyebrows shoot up. His own sister? Before I can respond, Tyler appears beside us again, this time looking nervous. Ms. Meadows? There's a woman outside asking for you. Says she's from the Chicago Tribune? We follow Tyler to the parking lot, where a woman in her 50s with graying hair and tired eyes is waiting by a silver Honda. She's not Amanda, this is someone new. Sarah Meadows? I'm Catherine Walsh, senior editor at the Tribune. I understand you've been working with Amanda Sterling on this story. Amanda steps forward protectively. Catherine, I told you I was handling this freelance after your legal department got cold feet. That was before tonight, Catherine replies, holding up her phone. This video has been viewed 400,000 times in the past hour. Marcus Chen admitting he kept your voicemails because authenticity sells? Sarah, this is front page news. She turns to me directly. The Tribune wants to run your story in tomorrow's Sunday edition. Full investigation, multiple sources, complete with audio excerpts from the voicemails if you're willing. We're also prepared to cover any legal expenses if Marcus's publisher escalates their threats. My head spins. 12 hours ago I was nobody, barely able to afford rent. Now I'm being offered front page coverage by Chicago's biggest newspaper. What's the catch? I ask. Catherine smiles grimly. No catch. But I should warn you, by tomorrow afternoon, this story will be national news. Are you ready for that level of attention? I think about Marcus driving back to his hotel tonight, probably already on the phone with crisis management specialists. I think about the other victims Tracy mentioned, women whose trauma he harvested for material. I think about readers who bought his book believing they were supporting authentic storytelling about survival and healing. I'm ready, I say. But I want to talk to the other women first. If Marcus has been doing this to multiple people, they deserve to be part of exposing him. Rebecca Torres, who's been quietly observing this exchange, speaks up. I can help coordinate that. I have connections throughout the literary community, and Tracy Valdez has already started a group chat with the other potential victims. Amanda grins. Looks like we're not just writing a story anymore. We're building a movement. My phone buzzes one final time. The message is from Marcus. Sarah, my lawyers want to offer you a settlement. Can we meet tomorrow morning? This doesn't have to destroy both our lives. I screenshot it and show the others. Catherine Walsh's eyes light up like she's just won the lottery. Settlement offer within hours of the confrontation, she says. Sarah, that's not the response of someone who thinks he can win a legal fight. That's panic. I look around at these women who barely knew me this morning but are now ready to go to war on my behalf. Amanda with her camera and journalistic integrity. Rebecca with her industry connections and righteous anger. Dr. Rodriguez with her professional credentials and protective fury. Catherine with her newspaper platform and resources. For the first time since I found Broken Wings on that shelf 2 weeks ago, I don't feel alone. Let's destroy his career, I say quietly. All of it. The settlement meeting is scheduled for 10 a.m. Sunday at Marcus's lawyer's office in the Loop. I spend Saturday night in Rebecca Torres's hotel room, preparing for what she calls the most important negotiation of your life. They're going to offer you money to disappear, Rebecca says, spreading legal documents across the desk. Probably a substantial amount. 6 figures, maybe more if they're really panicking. Amanda looks up from her laptop, where she's been coordinating with Catherine Walsh on tomorrow's Tribune story. The other victims are ready to go public too. Tracy Valdez found 8 women total, spanning 5 years. Marcus has been systematically targeting people in vulnerable situations, recent divorcees, grief counselors, patients, women in support groups. My stomach churns. 8 women? 8 that we know of so far, Rebecca clarifies. Jessica Chen, his sister, sent us some disturbing information this morning. Apparently Marcus has been keeping detailed files on people's personal stories since college. She found notebooks in his childhood bedroom when she was helping their parents move. I stare at the ceiling of the hotel room, trying to process the scope of Marcus's deception. So I wasn't special. I was just convenient. You were targeted, Dr. Rodriguez says firmly. She's been here for 3 hours, helping us prepare for tomorrow's media storm. Sarah, predators don't choose victims randomly. Marcus specifically sought out women who were processing trauma, women who trusted him with their healing journeys. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Sarah, this is Marcus. Before tomorrow's meeting, I want you to know I never intended for things to go this far. The book was supposed to help people. I thought you'd be proud of what I created. I show the message to the others. Amanda snorts with disgust. He's still trying to manipulate you, she says. Even now, facing complete career destruction, he's positioning himself as the misunderstood artist. Rebecca's phone rings, and she steps into the bathroom to take a call. When she emerges 5 minutes later, her expression is grim. That was my contact at Publishers Weekly. Hartwell and Associates just issued a statement. They're distancing themselves from Marcus and announcing an internal investigation into their editorial practices. What does that mean? I ask. It means they're preparing to throw him under the bus to save their own reputation, Rebecca replies. But it also means they're taking this seriously. Major publishers don't issue Sunday night crisis statements unless they're genuinely terrified. Amanda's laptop chimes with an incoming video call. It's Catherine Walsh, she says, turning the screen toward us. Catherine's face appears, and she looks exhausted but energized. Ladies, we have developments. The Tribune's legal team just got off the phone with Hartwell's lawyers. They want to settle with Sarah immediately, 7 figures, full NDA, complete media silence. My heart stops. 7 figures? They're offering you $1.2 million to sign a non-disclosure agreement and never speak publicly about Marcus or the book again, Catherine continues. The offer expires at 9 a.m. tomorrow, 1 hour before your scheduled meeting. The room goes completely silent. $1.2 million would change my life entirely, therapy, a real apartment, maybe even college to finish my degree. It would solve every financial problem I've had since childhood. But it would also silence every other victim. If I take the money, the other women can't use my story to support their cases, I say slowly. Exactly, Rebecca confirms. You'd be legally prohibited from confirming that Marcus stole your stories, even if other victims come forward. Amanda leans forward. Sarah, this is your decision entirely. But I need you to know, if you sign that NDA, Marcus gets to keep his career. The book stays published, he keeps the profits, and he'll probably write more books using other people's trauma. I think about Tracy Valdez, the paralegal in Denver whose foster care experience appears word for word in Chapter 12. About Jessica Chen, worried enough about her own brother's behavior to contact a stranger. About the woman who messaged me yesterday saying Marcus's description of her eating disorder recovery was so specific that her friends recognized her story. How long do I have to decide? I ask. Catherine checks her phone. It's 11:43 p.m. now. You have 9 hours and 17 minutes. Dr. Rodriguez speaks up quietly. Sarah, I've seen trauma victims face this choice before, financial security versus justice. There's no wrong answer. But I want you to consider something, you've already reclaimed your narrative tonight. The question now is whether other women get the same opportunity. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a message from Tracy Valdez. Sarah, I know about the settlement offer. Whatever you decide, we support you. But please know that you speaking up gave me courage to speak up too. That's worth more than money. I look around the hotel room at these 4 women who become my unlikely army in less than 48 hours. Tomorrow morning, I'll either become a millionaire or destroy the career of one of America's most celebrated new authors. I need to make a phone call, I say, reaching for my phone. It's time to hear what Marcus Chen has to say for himself. Marcus answers on the second ring, his voice cautious but trying for casual. Sarah. I wasn't sure you'd call. We need to talk before tomorrow's meeting, I say, stepping out onto the hotel balcony. Through the glass door, I can see the others watching me with concern. Look, I know you're angry, but my lawyers think we can work something out that benefits everyone. The settlement offer. 8 women, Marcus. My voice cuts through his practiced charm like a blade. We found 8 women whose stories you stole. How many others are there? The silence stretches for nearly 30 seconds. When he speaks again, the smooth confidence is gone. Sarah, you're making this sound worse than it is. These were relationships, conversations between people who cared about each other. Jessica told us about the notebooks. I lean against the balcony railing, Chicago's lights blurring below. Your sister found them in your childhood bedroom. Files on dozens of people, going back to college. Stories, traumas, personal details you collected like trading cards. Jessica doesn't understand the creative process. His voice gets defensive, and I can hear the Marcus I remember from our worst fights. Writers observe people. We absorb experiences. It's what we do. Writers don't keep detailed files on their friends' sexual assaults, I snap. Tracy Valdez was 19 when she told you about her foster father, Marcus. 19. She thought you were her friend from the writing group. Another long pause. Then, how much do you want? The question hits me like a physical blow. Even now, facing complete exposure, he thinks this is about money. That I can be bought off like some kind of literary extortionist. I want you to admit what you did, I say quietly. Publicly. I want you to apologize to every single woman whose story you stole. And I want you to donate every penny you made from Broken Wings to organizations that actually help trauma survivors. Marcus laughs, but there's no humor in it. Sarah, be realistic. My career is over anyway after tonight. The least we can do is make sure you're taken care of financially. Your career should be over. You built it on stolen pain. I built it on good storytelling. His voice rises, and I can hear the real Marcus now, not the charming author persona, but the man who always needed to be the smartest person in the room. Do you think those women could have written Broken Wings? Do you think Tracy Valdez or that military girl from Portland could have crafted something with that kind of literary merit? The casual dismissal of his victim's abilities makes my hands shake with rage. That military girl has a name. Her name is Rebecca Martinez, and she's written 3 novels that you said weren't commercial enough when you were sleeping with her. How do you? Marcus stops abruptly. She contacted me yesterday. Turns out she kept emails, Marcus. Emails where you told her that her own trauma wasn't universal enough for mainstream fiction, but you'd be happy to help her refine her voice. Through the phone, I hear what sounds like a glass breaking. Sarah, listen to me carefully. If you don't take this settlement, if you let the Tribune run that story tomorrow, you'll destroy more than just my career. There are other people involved, my editor, my agent, the publicists who believed in the book. Good, I say simply. Maybe they'll ask better questions next time before they publish stolen stories. You're being vindictive. I'm being honest. Something you've apparently never tried. Marcus's voice drops to barely above a whisper. I loved you, Sarah. Everything I put in that book came from a place of love. No, I say, looking back through the glass door at Amanda organizing evidence, Rebecca making phone calls, Dr. Rodriguez preparing ethical complaints. Love doesn't steal. Love doesn't profit from someone else's pain. Love doesn't lie for 3 years while building a career on borrowed trauma. I end the call and walk back inside. 4 faces turn toward me expectantly. So? Amanda asks. He's not sorry, I say, sitting down on the hotel bed. He's just sorry he got caught. And he still thinks the women whose stories he stole couldn't have written anything as good as Broken Wings. Rebecca looks up from her phone. Sarah, I just got confirmation from Publishers Weekly. 3 more victims have come forward in the last hour. We're up to 11 women now. 11 women. 11 stories stolen, monetized, turned into literary acclaim for a man who never experienced a single day of the trauma he built his career on. Catherine, I say to the laptop screen, call off the settlement meeting. I'm not taking their money. Are you sure? Catherine asks. This is $1.2 million we're talking about. I'm sure. But I want something in return. I look around at my unlikely team of supporters. I want to make Marcus an offer he can't refuse. Amanda grins. What did you have in mind? Tomorrow's Tribune story is just the beginning. I want to create a fund for the other victims, money for therapy, legal fees, whatever they need. And I know exactly how we're going to finance it. I pick up my phone and start typing a tweet. Update, Marcus Chen just offered me $1.2 million to stay quiet about his theft of trauma narratives. I'm declining. Instead, we're going after his royalties. Every penny. Hashtag Broken Wings exposed, hashtag justice for victims. Sarah, Dr. Rodriguez says softly, are you prepared for the war this is going to start? I think about 11 women whose deepest pain was commodified without their consent. About readers who bought Marcus's book thinking they were supporting authentic trauma recovery. About future victims who might trust the wrong writer with their stories. I'm not just prepared, I say, hitting post on the tweet. I'm counting on it. The federal court hearing is scheduled for 9 a.m. on a Tuesday in October, exactly 6 months after that night at Barnes & Noble. I'm sitting in the front row of Judge Patricia Chen's courtroom, no relation to Marcus, we checked, wearing the same blue dress I wore to confront him. It feels like armor now. Marcus looks terrible. His designer jackets have been replaced by an ill-fitting suit that suggests his literary fortune has evaporated. The confident author who once charmed podcasters and book clubs now hunches beside his lawyer like a man carrying invisible weight. Your Honor, announces Sarah Kim, the attorney representing our class action lawsuit, we're here today because the defendant engaged in systematic intellectual theft spanning 7 years. Mr. Chen deliberately cultivated relationships with vulnerable women for the express purpose of harvesting their trauma narratives for commercial use. 11 of us are here. Tracy Valdez flew in from Denver. Rebecca Martinez drove down from Milwaukee. Dr. Rodriguez sits behind me, having testified yesterday about the ethical violations of using therapeutic techniques without attribution. Even Jessica Chen, Marcus's own sister, submitted a sworn statement about the notebooks she discovered. The evidence is overwhelming. Voicemails, emails, text messages, journal entries, a paper trail of stolen stories stretching back to Marcus's college writing workshops. The FBI's digital forensics team found backup files on his computer containing detailed profiles of dozens of women, their traumas cataloged like research data. Judge Chen, the irony of her surname isn't lost on anyone, reviews the settlement documents spread before her. Mr. Chen, you understand that accepting this agreement means surrendering all royalties from Broken Wings, acknowledging the theft of intellectual property, and agreeing to the establishment of a victim compensation fund? Marcus's lawyer whispers something in his ear. Marcus nods reluctantly. Yes, Your Honor. And you understand that this agreement includes a permanent injunction preventing you from publishing any work based on uncredited personal narratives of others? Yes, Your Honor. Judge Chen's gaze shifts to our side of the courtroom. Ms. Meadows, as lead plaintiff, please confirm your acceptance of these terms. I stand up, my heart pounding. Your Honor, we accept the terms with one addition. We want Mr. Chen to read a public statement acknowledging what he did to each victim by name. Marcus's head snaps up, and for the first time today, I see real fear in his eyes. His lawyer immediately objects, but Judge Chen holds up her hand. The statement is part of the agreed settlement, she says firmly. Mr. Chen, please proceed. Marcus stands slowly, unfolding a piece of paper with shaking hands. When he begins speaking, his voice is barely audible. I, Marcus Chen, acknowledge that I systematically stole personal trauma narratives from Sarah Meadows, Tracy Valdez, Rebecca Martinez. He continues through all 11 names, each one hitting the courtroom like a physical blow. I use their private pain for commercial profit without their knowledge or consent. I built my literary career on their stolen stories. His voice cracks on the final sentence. I am deeply sorry for the harm I caused, and I accept full responsibility for my actions. The courtroom is completely silent. Then Tracy Valdez starts clapping, slow and deliberate. The sound builds as the rest of us join in, not celebration, but acknowledgement. Justice served, finally. Judge Chen brings down her gavel. Settlement approved. Mr. Chen, you have 30 days to comply with all terms. Outside the courthouse, Amanda Sterling, now my co-author on the book we're writing about this case, grins at me with her camera ready. Broken Wings has been pulled from all retailers as of this morning. The Victim Compensation Fund starts with $2.3 million in Marcus's royalties. I look back at the courthouse where Marcus is probably still sitting, his literary career officially over. Then I pull out my phone and tweet one final update, it's done. 11 women's stories have been returned to their rightful owners. To everyone who supported us, trauma belongs to survivors, not to the people who exploit it. Broken Wings exposed, victory complete. The notification count starts climbing immediately, but for the first time in months, I'm not watching the numbers. I'm finally free to tell my own story.